Continuing from the previous episode, after Moon-jun made a deal with Garam, the agreement was, if she could eat all 8 crystal-like shaved ice servings on the table, Garam would spare her. This meant not uploading the videos of her abusing others online and effectively saving her reputation in future. Moon-jun managed to finish all the servings, and true to her word, Garam let her go. She no longer had to endure the suffering that Garam had inflicted on her. However, Moon-jun passed away shortly afterward. The very next day, the news reported a shocking incident. Recently, the owner of a shaved ice shop in Endogo district had mixed shards of glass into the ice and attacked customers indiscriminately. This horrifying act of terrorism led to the tragic death of Moon-jun, a 16-year-old girl. Prosecutors launched an investigation into the shop owner, identified as Mr. Lee, charging him with causing severe injuries with special circumstances. He was immediately taken into custody. During questioning, Mr. Lee admitted to his actions, stating that he was overwhelmed by despair after accumulating billions of won in debt due to poor guarantees. He claimed that he only wanted to vent his anger on someone and had no intention of killing anyone. Criminal experts commented on the increasing diversity and randomness of crimes nowadays, urging society to raise awareness and vigilance. Returning to the main story, Yoon, a friend who accompanied Moon-jun, is currently undergoing treatment at the hospital for psychological trauma. Scene transition to Garam. Garam is seen laughing and saying, "As expected, chocolate smoothies are the best psychological therapy, right?" She then turns to Lee Myeong-jun and asks, "What happens if the shop owner denies the charges?" Myeong-jun reassures her, "Don't worry about that, since this case is classified as causing special injuries rather than intentional murder. The game ends here. According to our lawyer, the maximum sentence is 8 years. I promised Mr. Lee that I would clear his 1.7 billion won debt and pay him 8 billion won after taxes in exchange for serving 8 years in prison. He won't betray us." Garam chuckles. The brilliance of Korean capitalism. At this moment, Manager Bitch interjects, "By the way, Garam, how did you predict that Moon-jun would eat your shaved ice instead of her own?" Garam responds, "I'm not a mind reader. How could I have known that?" Manager Bitch presses further, "Then how did you do it?" Garam smirks and replies, "Of course, I put glass shards in both bowls of shaved ice. The top layer was real ice, but the bottom was glass. From the start, no matter which bowl she chose, her fate was already sealed." Manager Bitch nods in understanding. "I see. That's why you seemed so disappointed." If Izan, after finishing the first shaved ice bowl, realized she had to eat the mango-flavored one as well, I wonder how she would have reacted. Garam sighs. And yet, that girl couldn't even finish one bowl. How boring. Scene continues. Hearing Garam narrate her meticulously crafted plan, Manager Big broke into a cold sweat. He thought to himself, "In moments like this, I realize just how much of a psychopath young Garam truly is. Normally, she just seems like a mischievous little sister." Suddenly, Garam started crying. Surprised, Manager Big blurted out, "What's going on? Why are you crying all of a sudden?" Through her sobs, Garam stammered, I suddenly remembered Izan and her mom. I miss the days when we used to have so much fun playing together. It's heartbreaking to think that we'll never be able to play together again." But then, her tone shifted, and she continued, still, the expression on her mom's face as she was dying. "It made me so happy I could barely contain myself. I miss you, Izan." At that moment, Lee Myeong-jun interjected, "Anyway, it's been 4 days since my final revenge plan. How is the progress regarding Moon-jun's parents?" Hearing this, Manager Big began to lay out a report for him. Scene transitions to another location. A group of angry citizens is gathered, chanting, "Corrupt hospital. How absurd. Resign. Director of the hospital. Resign." Elsewhere, a reporter is broadcasting live. "I'm standing in front of the Taiwan General Hospital building, which is currently surrounded by large groups of civilians protesting against corruption within the hospital. Alongside them are media personnel covering the unfolding events. This all stems from a corruption scandal involving the hospital director, Moon Pedro, which was exposed yesterday by a whistleblower. Director Moon Pedro is accused of colluding with representatives of IonTech, affiliated with the ruling party. using his influence to pressure local authorities. The hospital allegedly issued orders to convert a basin area into a medical facility. According to leaked documents, even the profit distribution plans from the inflated land prices resulting from this conversion were accounted for. This has drawn significant criticism, as it suggests that patients were neglected and left to suffer, all in the name of blatant profit-seeking. Reporters have repeatedly requested access to the site, but the hospital has consistently denied these requests, citing restrictions on outsiders to ensure patient stability. Meanwhile, hospital director Moon Pedro was reported to be holed up with his wife inside the director's office. Inside the office, Moon Isin's mother was sobbing uncontrollably, stammering, "It's all because of Lee Myeong-jun. Our Isin died such a terrible death, and it's all because of him. He must have hired young Ram or someone else to feed her that shaved ice." Hearing this, her husband coldly responded, "Stop making baseless accusations. There's no evidence for any of this." Evidence? Do you not find it suspicious that this happened at the same time as your corruption scandal? You know it as well as I do. This is Lee Myeong-jun's doing. Oh, wait. Everything is your fault. If you hadn't sent her to the academy that day, none of this would have happened. No, even before that, if you hadn't been so harsh with Yazin, she wouldn't have become a bully. Everything was ruined because of your arrogant, patriarchal pride. Yazin, you killed her. The wife berated and blamed her husband before grabbing her handbag and storming out, saying, "I'm going back to my parents' house. Prepare the divorce papers. I'll handle the rest with Lee Myeong-jun. Goodbye." After she left, the husband was left alone in the room. He struggled to suppress his anger, his mind racing with thoughts. She dares to say such things? A wife who was always too busy gossiping at social gatherings to even remember Yazin's elementary school graduation. And yet she has the nerve to talk like this? I watched over my daughter more closely than anyone else, because she was just like me. Moon Yazin inherited both my brilliant academic abilities and my violent tendencies. Of course, I tried my best to nurture her academic talents while suppressing her violent side. Taekwondo was just one of the ways I thought I could help her channel her aggression. Did I push Yazin too hard? No. I was only trying to discipline her strictly, the way my own parents raised me. My daughter, who inherited my temperament, was destined to lead a successful life without ever becoming a criminal. I thought that was the only way she could live a better life than me. As the director of Taiwan General Hospital, this is the only path I know. Moon Yazin, why? Why did you stray from the path I laid out for you? From the future I envisioned for you? The love I had for you? At that moment, he looked down from his office window and heard the shouting below. Corrupt hospital director. Resign now. A legislator acting as a hospital director? What kind of nonsense is this? How can you freely continue playing political money games while neglecting the patients? Resign immediately. Above, he sat still in his office, lost in thought. In the end, everything will just conclude this way. All of this, it's meaningless. Just then, someone opened the office door. Hearing the sound, he angrily shouted, "I gave strict orders to security to stop anyone from entering." In response, a calm female voice replied, "I'm not an outsider." Hearing her voice, he froze in shock, turning to look at the intruder. "You must understand the reason I'm here, don't you?" she said, realizing who she was. Moon Pedro replied coldly, "Yes, you're here to silence me, to ensure I can't reveal who's truly behind this land corruption scandal, Representative Cha. It seems he's decided to sever ties with me and abandon me to ruin. As always, you're here to threaten me by dragging my family into this mess. But do you really think Representative Cha's usual tactics will work on me now? My wife has already informed me of her decision to file for divorce and has gone back to her parents' house. My daughter was buried in the church cemetery last week. There's no family left for you to threaten. So tell me, what will you do if I refuse to stay silent? What's your plan for me? Will you leverage your connections with CEO Kong in Busan? Or will you desecrate my daughter's grave in the church cemetery?" The woman smiled faintly and replied, "At the very least, I can end the pain you're feeling right now, forever." Hearing her words, Moon Pedro fell into deep thought, then finally spoke again. "I see your point. Tell Representative Cha that he won't need to waste any effort silencing me. I'll handle it myself. By the way, I've been wondering about something for a while. Are you really one of Representative Cha's people?" although he sometimes uses you to check on me. I've never actually seen him with you in person. Is it possible you're not working for Representative Cha, but rather for Cha Seo-hyun? Hearing these questions, the girl in front of him merely stood there, smiling calmly. You, someone who won't remember anything soon, shouldn't be so curious. Well, I suppose I've heard enough answers now. Moon Pedro responded. Just to be clear, my wife knows nothing. I'm trying to save you the effort, so I trust you won't go to her. Just watch and see. I'll keep my promise. At the same time, outside the hospital, a large crowd was trying to force their way in. Let us film. Please give us access. Wait a minute. We must meet the hospital director. We need to interview the director. Amid the commotion, someone glanced up at the sky and gasped in shock. It was Moon Pedro standing on the rooftop. The crowd quickly noticed and began shouting in unison. Wait, what's that up there? Isn't that him? Why is the director on the rooftop? What's going on? It can't be, no way. Before they could finish their words, Moon Pedro closed his eyes slowly and then leapt from the rooftop. The crowd below froze in horror as his body hit the ground with a loud thud. Screams erupted from all directions, and people shouted frantically for the cameras to stop recording. Turn the cameras off. Don't broadcast this live. It'll traumatize everyone watching. Time passed, and the scene shifted to Myeong-jun sitting alone in his office. The silence was broken when Manager Big entered and asked, Vice President, is there something troubling you? Myeong-jun replied, Nothing. I was just thinking about Hyena's diary. About the day when all the tragedies began. September 6, 2023. The first day of the school violence against Lee Hyena. Flashback to September 6, 2023. Lee Hyena was tied up on the floor, trembling. A girl stood over her, shouting angrily, Damn it! So you're telling me that Moon-jun, the loser we used to bully, is actually a third-generation chaebol heir? If she's the daughter of a conglomerate family, shouldn't she have shown some signs of it? Another girl, clearly furious, grabbed her head and screamed, Damn it! This is so messed up. How could we have beaten up that wretched girl, only to find out she's the daughter of a chaebol? This isn't a joke. She turned to another girl, yelling, Hey, Moon-jun, are you sure you investigated this properly? Or did you get something wrong? Another voice chimed in. Lee Hyena is the only daughter of Lee Myeong-jun, the vice president of the Hyeondo Group. I've told you 1,000,000 times. Look it up on your phone again if you don't believe me. It's true. Lee Hyena, that girl, if she's the daughter of a chaebol, why the hell did she pretend to be poor all this time? What's the point of that? As the group continued arguing among themselves, Hina, lying on the ground, stammered, I just wanted to be like everyone else, to make friends like a normal person. Hearing this, Song Eun-jin stepped back in fear and said, Oh no, what do we do now? It really seems like she's the daughter of a chaebol. If that's true, doesn't that mean we're all doomed? But don't include me in this. I didn't do anything to her. Why should I suffer for what you all did? Don't drag me into this mess. Another girl snapped, Shut your mouth. Haven't you heard the saying, standing by makes you an accomplice? You think you can save yourself now by backing out? If that chaebol girl decides to take revenge, do you think she'll just let you off the hook? As they continued their heated discussion, Hina's voice trembled from the ground. Hey, everyone. I really don't have any intention of taking revenge. I swear. From the beginning, I wanted to resolve everything through talking. Right now, I'm living alone, so my dad won't even find out that I was beaten. I'm not seriously hurt, so let's just resolve this peacefully. Please, just let me go. After hearing Hina's plea, Eun-jin hesitated and spoke up. She's right. Everyone. She said she'd let it go, so let's just release her. There's no need to take this too far. Moon-jun immediately retorted, Are you seriously that dumb? You really believe what she's saying right now? She's just saying that to get out of this. What if she comes back later to ruin us? Hina desperately interjected. No, I promise. I won't do that. I'm telling the truth. I won't hold a grudge or try to get back at you. Moon-jun scoffed. Even if that's true, and she wants to let it go, what about her dad? Even if she's living alone, she's still a chaebol's daughter. Do you seriously think there aren't bodyguards or people watching over her? Sooner or later, everything we've done is going to come to light. And when her dad finds out, we're done for. We can't keep her locked up here forever. Another girl groaned in frustration. Damn it. Then what do we do now? We need to think of a way to deal with this fast. Someone snapped back. Deal with it? What the hell do you mean by that? Say it again if you dare. Oh, so you want to fight me right now? Is that it? Hey, everyone. Stop it. Why are you fighting each other? Calm down. You're all overreacting. Another girl muttered. Damn it. This is such a mess. You're all driving me crazy. Finally, someone blurted out. But where's Cha Seo-hyun? He's the one who told us to gather here. But now he's nowhere to be found. The person who started all this isn't even here. What the hell is going on? As the shouting died down, someone stepped into the room. It was Cha Seo-hyun, standing at the door with a furious expression on her face. She smirked and said, What's with all the noise? You useless idiots. Seeing Cha Seo-hyun enter, Hina instinctively flinched, trembling slightly as Seo-hyun's footsteps echoed through the room. With a mocking tone, Seo-hyun continued, This is such a tiny matter, a mere plaything. If she's really a third-generation chaebol heir, doesn't that mean her wallet is always full of cash? Isn't that a good thing? One of the girls, confused and frustrated, asked, Cha Seo-hyun, where were you? Why are you only showing up now? I told you, didn't I? I went home to grab something and then came back. No, you never said anything about that. Whatever. I went and now I'm here. Why do you keep complaining about things that don't even concern you? Hearing this, Moon Yazin hesitated and said nothing more. Seo-hyun turned her attention to Hina, a malicious smile forming on her lips. So, our little darling here is a third-generation chaebol. Huh. So what if her dad is a chaebol? With that, Seo-hyun suddenly kicked Hina in the jaw, making her cry out in pain. Seo-hyun laughed as she said, And my dad? He's a presidential candidate. For crying out loud. So what if she's a chaebol? It depends on the kind of chaebol we're talking about. Windows Group? Since when has that been a real conglomerate? One misstep, and their stock drops by 30%. Is that what you call a chaebol? As Seo-hyun continued her rant, Moon Yazin suddenly interrupted from behind her. Cha Seo-hyun, no matter what, a chaebol is still a chaebol. Even if your dad becomes the leader of the ruling party, it doesn't change that. Seo-hyun narrowed her eyes. Oh, really? Have you not been keeping up with the news? The uncles who send me black bread are all subordinates of my dad. Not long ago, didn't one of them come to my dad's office to grovel like a fool? That's what's truly scary. Terrifying, isn't it? Seo-hyun sneered. Now do you see why I call you all cowards? How can you share the same space with someone you're afraid of? Shame on you. At this, Hina, still in pain but defiant, muttered, Shame on you. Her quiet but cutting remark stunned Seo-hyun into silence, her anger momentarily replaced by disbelief. Cha Seo-hyun quickly turned back to Hina and snapped. What did you just say? I said, know some shame? Hina replied, If your father holds such a high-ranking position, shouldn't you be the one being careful with your actions? Trust in your wonderful father and do everything you can to uphold that trust. Why would you bully someone weaker than yourself? Don't you feel guilty toward your father? Hina continued, her voice firm. Aren't you the same dutiful daughter named Shinjong we've heard so much about since you transferred to our school? But Shinjong, there's one thing you're mistaken about. My father isn't like me. I don't follow orders like that. Isn't it horrifying for a dutiful child like you to hear? Seeing the blank look on Seo-hyun's face, Hina smirked and added, You seem confused by what I'm saying. If you don't understand, I might as well spell it out for you. Seo-hyun's eyes narrowed, and Hina said with an edge in her voice, This, Seo-hyun, is what I mean. She held up a USB stick. This isn't just a USB. This is my father's lifeline. A year ago, during a family gathering, I overheard something about my Uncle Baza hiring a hacker named Joa to create a rootkit. Afterward, I installed that rootkit on my father's computer, where it remained for 6 months. And from my father's computer, I discovered that he had been funneling political slush funds using cryptocurrencies. Over time, he managed to successfully stash away 230 billion won. But more than that, I've secured everything. All of my father's dirty secrets are on this USB. If I were to release what's on this drive, My father's political career would end in ruins. And not just his career, his life? How grandiose, right? Don't you agree? Cha Seo-hyun frowned. What exactly are you trying to say? Hina smiled coldly. What I'm saying is that with just one command from me, I could destroy him. If not physically, then politically. Either way, he'd be at my mercy. Hearing these words, Seo-hyun looked momentarily stunned but quickly composed herself, her face twisting into a smirk. You think spouting nonsense like this is going to scare me? Hina added defiantly. For a moment, Seo-hyun seemed taken aback. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a photograph. Throwing it in front of Hina, Hina glanced at the photograph and immediately froze. Her face drained of all color. A second later, she started to gag and vomit uncontrollably. Watching this, Seo-hyun laughed mockingly. You really do have a weak stomach, don't you? Just looking at some photos of a shattered skull. And you're already throwing up like this? What about when they did your mother's funeral rites? When her head was crushed in that car accident? Did you throw up like this back then, too? Hina stammered, her voice trembling. What is this photo? Seo-hyun chuckled. This? It was all over the news. I thought you'd recognize the face immediately. The man in the photo accidentally slipped while climbing a mountain and died 5 months ago. That's Young Tae, the chairman of Capital Retail Group, worth 54 trillion won. But was that really an accident? Cha Seo-hyun mused, a sinister smile spreading across her face. Hiking is one of the easiest places for a murder to happen in South Korea. All you need is to bribe someone and have them work as a patrol officer on the mountain trail. During their patrol, they identify the blind spots in the CCTV coverage. Then, when the target passes through alone, just one strong push, and it's a perfect, accidental fall. The death of the Capital Retail chairman? There wasn't any special reason for it. My dad just wanted to see if he could kill someone for me. That's all. And when I actually tried it, killing the head of a conglomerate turned out to be pretty easy, didn't it? Turns out, even a chairman of a massive corporation can be dealt with effortlessly. Seo-hyun tilted her head thoughtfully and added, It got me thinking. If killing one major chaebol is this easy, wouldn't it be interesting to see how easy it is to kill another one? Her gaze darkened as she turned toward Hina. Lee Hyena, why did you transfer to this school? Was it your father's idea? He told you to talk about school violence and to be a good daughter, didn't he? Hina, trembling but defiant, stammered. What? No, that's not it. I only transferred here because I heard this school had teachers specializing in gifted education. So I enrolled. That's all. Seo-hyun scoffed, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Unbelievable. I can't stand this anymore. If that's the case, then maybe I should deal with your dad as well. What do you think? Dutiful daughter Shim Chung? Should I take care of your loving father for you? Hina froze, her face pale. Seo-hyun continued, her tone mockingly casual. Doesn't your dad drink that multigrain cereal powder from brand A every morning at 7 a.m. for breakfast? What if I added a little detergent to it? Or, she suddenly grabbed Hina and lifted her off the ground effortlessly. Your dad loves powerlifting, doesn't he? That private gym of his. The 120 square meter one in Jamsil? What if I loosened a few screws on the barbell rack so the weights crushed him to death? Or maybe no, that's too messy. Seo-hyun smirked cruelly as she continued. Or better yet, I could hire assassins from North Korea through the deep web. For $1,000 should be enough. Should I have them cut out your dad's tongue? Without waiting for a response, Seo-hyun punched Hina hard in the stomach, making her gasp for air and struggle to breathe. As Hina curled over in pain, Seo-hyun crouched down and leaned in, her voice low and menacing. Actually, I've decided. Let's go with this. Seo-hyun grabbed Hina by her collar and yanked her up, tightening the fabric around her neck. With a swift kick to Hina's legs, she made her stumble and choke on her own collar. Smiling darkly, Seo-hyun whispered mockingly, Breaking news, Vice President of Windows Group, Lee Myeong-jun under pressure from a National Assembly hearing, hangs himself along with his 15-year-old daughter. Isn't that a perfect script? Matches your family's current situation to a T, doesn't it? So let's go with this plan, shall we? Hina? No, I don't want this. Please. Hina cried out desperately. What do you mean? You don't want it? Seo-hyun sneered. her voice dripping with venom. You ungrateful wretch. I'm helping you reunite with your dead mother. As she finished speaking, Cha Seo-hyun burst into maniacal laughter, her voice echoing in the dimly lit storage room. The sound sent shivers down Song Eun-jin's spine, leaving her paralyzed with fear. At that moment, Hina broke down, sobbing and screaming. Please, have mercy on me. It's all my fault. Spare my father. I'm begging you. I'm the one who's done everything wrong. I'll never defy you again. Please, Daddy, save me. Help me. Hearing Hina's desperate cries, Seo-hyun let go of her grip. Hina collapsed onto the floor, gasping for air, her body trembling uncontrollably. Seo-hyun stood over her, watching her struggle to breathe. After a moment, she said coldly, Hina, from today onward, you're my toy. You will never defy me. If you even think of resisting, your father dies. Got it, my little toy? Hina, still crying uncontrollably, nodded in submission, her voice barely audible as she whispered, I understand. Later, in his office, Lee Myeong-jun sat alone, reading the diary Hina had left behind. His hands clenched the book tightly as rage boiled within him. It's all my fault, he thought bitterly. The CEO high school that you wanted to transfer to, I should have investigated it more thoroughly. Instead, I used the pathetic excuse of being too busy preparing for a National Assembly hearing. How absurd. With such a foolish reason, I threw my only daughter into the den of demons. Tears welled up in his eyes as he whispered to himself, Hina, I'm so sorry. How much suffering did you endure just to protect this useless father? But this time, Hina, it's their turn to pay. Those devils will never find salvation. I'll make sure every one of them descends into hell, and I'll be the one to send them there with my own hands.